Good morning, everybody. Thank you for coming in to listen. I'm from the BBC, as you can see there, but that's enough about me. The BBC's remit is to inform, educate, and entertain. And we do that with an income of some 3.6 billion. So every household in this room has contributed to this slideshow, to my salary, and the BBC. Anybody want to volunteer they haven't? Okay, fair enough. And there's some viewer stats. So in September, for instance, the Great British Bake Off got 10.3 million viewers. So if you sat down to watch that, 10 million other people sat down with you. As a Welshman, the great stat is that beat the England football team. Their show at Wembley got less viewers than British Bake Off. But as a Welshman also, it beat Doctor Who, and I just can't understand a world where cookery beats Doctor Who. But there's a free giveaway, barb.co.uk. If you're actually interested in seeing some of these stats, you can go on that website. It's all for free. You can actually see some of the viewing figures for yourselves. It's quite interesting just to have a look. So what's the challenge I'm going to talk about today? And I think our previous speaker ended up with the statement saying that data's great, but you've got to encourage people to use it. So what I find generally in the work that I do is that we are great at setting strategies, and there's some examples up there. They're not picked because I think they're particularly bad, they're just picked because I think they're pretty standard. And what they talk about is the mechanics. Timely, accurate, etc. It talks about mechanics, and it could talk about that type of report. But what it doesn't necessarily say is how we get from the left-hand side to the right-hand side. And that's what I'm really interested in, how we achieve that. So hold that thought. So some familiar pain points about it. This I call my therapy slide, because we're all going to own up now. So data in many systems, hands up. Who recognizes that as an issue? Okay, brilliant. Long development, slow development processes. Yeah, great. Data rich, information poor. Right, we're all there. So if you put your hand up, perhaps you recognize this guy. The BBC has 25,000 employees. Stats say about 20% of them may be analysts and really want to get into the data. The rest, potentially, are this chap. He doesn't want to know about it. He just wants to be able to get on and do his job. So the real challenge, as I see it, is how we go from that to that. Okay, he's hamming it up a bit, but that's what we want to try and achieve. So we want to transform the user experience, and as far as I can see, we do that through engaging analytic applications. So we get them engaging with data. Now I get the challenge from my wife, is okay, but what's an analytic application? Can you tell me that in plain language, please? So I say, well, if you think of a news flash, which is about immediate, short-term, single topic, quite punchy, as opposed to news at 10, which has characteristics, comments, talks about forecasting, can be delivered in different formats and styles. The news flash is effectively what I would call a dashboard. News at 10 is an analytic application. It does more, informs, lets you drill down, lets you think about the future and that sort of thing. So an analytic application to me is a news at 10 application. But how do we make it engaging? So what I've done is I've been and talked to our program makers, and for those that don't recognize it, that's what a TV looked like when I was little. And asked them what makes a good program. So they said, well, the first thing is you have to know your target audience. Got to understand them. So, hands up time. Are you Top Gear or Strictly? Hands up if you're Top Gear. Hands up if you're Strictly. There's always some honest people in the audience that are prepared to admit it. Strictly is beating Top Gear at the moment, so good on you. But I think the point is, you can recognize they're very different audiences. And what you deliver to them is very different, in different styles and in different content. The thought of Clarkson in sequins doesn't really do much for me, although now you've got that thought in your head, it'll live with you the rest of the day. So what does that mean to me and my team? So don't weaken impact by targeting more than one audience at a time. Focus on the user's interests and deliver information to them in a style that they're used to and that they can empathize with. And also the target audience to specify requirements, not somebody that thinks they know what the audience wants. The example I use there, if I go to if you've got children, if I go to them and ask them what they want to watch on TV, I suspect they'll give a totally different answer to their parents, because their parents will be telling you what they want them to watch on TV. So talk to the audience. So understand the user is my first of 5 Ps of user engagement. So think about the participants. Stick to the brief is the next thing the program makers will say. And inform, educate, and entertain is the BBC's remit. And it does that in many different ways. So all these programs, whether you like them or not, all deliver the inform, educate, and entertain message. All different styles. So when we put an analytics application on somebody's desktop, we don't do a one-size-fits-all. We understand where we need to standardize, but we also need to understand where we need to have diversification so that it suits the user. We talk about objectives, and interestingly, in this type of conference, we don't talk about data. We talk about the business decision they're trying to make, which then work backwards derives the data that you need to deliver to them. And also don't hide the important information in the dashboard. Quite often you see people say, well, to get the information I want to do, I do this, and that's the real information I want. Well, that should be on the front page, really. Which gives me my second P, purpose. Know the purpose. Back to the program makers. What's the next thing? Well, keep the ratings up, because you're sunk if your ratings drop. You'll pretty soon be dropped. So what makes an audience come back? Well, you've got the cliffhanger. Now, don't misinterpret me. I don't advise you build analytics applications with cliffhangers in them. It's not a career-enhancing option. However, you can think about data refresh times, because effectively that's the cliffhanger. But don't do that. Discover something new. Example there is the BBC's Olympics website, where we went beyond just televising, so you can go on the website and find out about the athletes, what they've been doing in the past, some history. Very, very, very well used, that application. And invest in the outcome. The growth of dialing for voting, the cynics amongst you may say, well, that's just a way of getting money back. It's not for the BBC, because it goes to charity, but it's there to make users invest in the outcome. So they'll come back next time and find out whether investment, whether the person they voted for was won, etc. So that's some ways that you can engage and get the audience to come back for more. So in terms of an analytics application, that means let people interact and drill down. Keep it simple and logical, and also, from BBC's perspective, colour. Colour is very important to the way people interact with things. So think about colours and how you present on the screen, and make it easy for users. Hopefully, if it's intuitive enough, you won't need any training. So make the users, this isn't displaying quite right, but pull is the next P. So that's 3 Ps so far. Back to the program makers. Next thing they say is critical is the commissioning process. So commissioning process starts with requirements. It doesn't start with the specification. It might be an indication of the audience, the time of day, and the genre that they want to program for, and the length. And quite often that turns into a pilot show. House There is an interesting pilot show. Almost didn't happen. It's a very, very English actor in a very American show. Went through the pilot, and then, well, we know where that's gone so far. And then audience feedback. When you think about it, that is effectively the agile process. So, media companies and BBC have been doing the agile process for 20, 30, before it was even called that. And once you've done that, you've got to remember the winning formula. And I put this slide up because I think this is outrageous. Top Gear is the most watched factual program in the world in 2012. It's outrageous. How can you have Top Gear and factual in the same sentence? I just don't know. So, when you're developing the analytics, prototype, demonstrate the art of the possible. Requirements need to be realistic, and I've thrown in the 80-20 rule there because inevitably the cost of getting 100% of a requirement is usually too large. You have to stop somewhere, and the agile process should stop you, roughly around the 80-20 point, and an agile methodology, which gives me process as my fourth P. Last thing, and particularly strong for the BBC, is standards. So here we talk about program making, impartiality, accuracy, innovation, iPlayer, use of tablets, etc. But now we're actually getting back to the type of things which typically go into strategy statements. We're now beginning to talk about the mechanics again. So the integrity, data should be accurate, timely, demonstrably relevant, etc. We also have to make sure we innovate, fully exploit the available technology, and don't let design principles get in the way. That's the problem of the technologist. It shouldn't become a problem to the user. So consistent design principles is what we are, which principles. So there's my 5 Ps of user engagement when we look at applications. And if you want, this is the News at 10 version of my presentation. You'll be glad to hear I do have a news flash version, which you may think, why didn't I do that in the first place? But there you go. So news flash. Got it yet? I think that comes back to my point. If you have to explain to a user of the information what it is, you've probably not got it quite right yet. Thank you very much.